Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. Today, we're diving into the Wall Street Journal's front page headline, which reads, Goldman Sachs third quarter profit jumps 45%. The subheading explains that Goldman's stock trading department just posted its best quarterly performance in over 3 years, while top executives are going after regulators for more transparency around changes to capital rules. The article goes on to explain that Goldman Sachs' profits surged by 45% in the third quarter, blowing past expectations. This spike was largely driven by an unexpected boom in stock trading revenue and a recovery in the investment banking business. It's a big deal. Goldman stock traders logged their best quarterly performance in 3 years and are on track for their best year ever. Across key business areas, Goldman collected fees that exceeded projections, which helped offset some of the drag from a dip in fixed income trading profits. Interestingly, Goldman stock has been climbing this year as the bank has moved away from its consumer banking ambitions and benefited from the bounce back in investment banking. Overall, Wall Street and major banks are showing they can weather the impact of falling interest rates on retail banking. At the same time, they're highlighting the potential for increased trading to drive up costs across the industry. Now, you might be wondering, why is Goldman's earnings report the talk of Wall Street today? Well, it's not just about the numbers. There's a bigger message here about shifts in the capital markets. Since the pandemic hit in late 2019, the global investment banking scene has been under pressure. One of the most visible signs has been the sudden and steep drop in big corporate mergers and acquisitions, M&A. Companies hit the brakes during the pandemic, and when inflation skyrocketed after the pandemic, it didn't help. In response, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates aggressively, which significantly raised the cost of financing these deals. And it wasn't just in the U.S. The global M&A market took a big hit. But here's the interesting part, as the Fed has started to signal lower rates on the horizon, companies are gearing up for a possible M&A revival. That's why people are buzzing about Goldman's earnings. It's a sign of hope that corporate deal-making could be back on the rise, which would have a huge ripple effect not only on capital markets but also on global supply chains and market structures. What's even more fascinating is that Goldman's report aligns with the recent earnings releases from other big names like JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. The takeaway? The capital markets are optimistic about the Fed's potential rate-cutting cycle, and big international investment banks are ready to seize new opportunities. This M&A comeback isn't just limited to the US or Europe, it's a global movement. So, this is more than just an earnings report. It's a glimpse into the broader landscape of the financial world and how it's poised to shift in the months ahead. For our second major news story, we're looking at a report from Al Jazeera, and it's a big one. Israel says our national interests will dictate retaliation against Iran. PM Netanyahu's office says it will consider US opinions, but Israel will make its own decision in attacking Iran. On October 1st, Iran launched around 200 missiles at Israel, retaliating for earlier strikes that killed leaders from Hezbollah, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and Hamas. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office made it clear today, Israel is listening to what the US has to say, but when it comes to defending its national interests, the final decision on whether to strike back will be made by Israel alone. According to reports, an unnamed US official revealed that Netanyahu has assured the White House that any retaliation would target military bases only, not nuclear or energy infrastructure. This suggests Israel is aiming for a more limited, focused military strike, designed to avoid escalating the conflict into a full-blown war. The Wall Street Journal also reported, citing anonymous US sources, that this approach stems from recent talks between Netanyahu and President Biden, along with conversations between US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. These discussions seem to have led to this careful, strategic decision aimed at keeping tensions under control. But here's the real takeaway: the situation between Israel and Iran, which had been teetering on the edge of something far worse, now shows signs of de-escalation. The US appears to have made significant progress in its efforts to limit the scope of this conflict, ensuring it doesn't spiral into something catastrophic. Now, will Iran sit back and hope even its military bases avoid an attack? Highly doubtful. Israel not responding at all isn't an option either. Iran knows retaliation is coming, it's more a matter of when, not if. We've shared earlier that the US has already deployed missile defense systems in Israel and sent American troops to operate them. So, Israel and the US are clearly preparing for a potential strike on Iranian military bases. The only question now is timing. My guess? It could happen as soon as next week, or possibly the week after. This entire situation reflects a delicate balancing act. Israel is signaling it wants to defend itself, but is also aware of the broader consequences. The US is playing a crucial role in trying to keep the situation contained, and that effort seems to be paying off for now. However, with tensions this high, things can change fast. What happens next will shape the Middle East's geopolitical landscape for months, if not years, to come. Our third big story today touches on a rumor that's been floating around for most of the year but has only recently started to get real confirmation. For months, there's been talk that North Korea wasn't just sending Russia low-quality missiles but was also sending troops to Ukraine to help fight alongside Russian forces. This was just speculation for a long time, there wasn't any credible source backing it up. But over the weekend, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky finally confirmed it. And since then, the news has been gaining traction, with more and more evidence emerging. Let's look at a report from the Kiev Independent. In his nightly address, Zelensky stated that the alliance between Russia and regimes like North Korea is growing stronger, and that North Korea has escalated things to the point where they've sent occupying forces to Ukraine. This is a pretty significant development. The relationship between Russia and North Korea started to heat up back in June when Russian President Vladimir Putin made his first visit to North Korea in 25 years, signing a defense pact. Right after that visit, South Korea's defense minister warned that North Korea might deploy soldiers to Ukraine to fight alongside the Russian army. That warning didn't really make waves at the time because nothing more came out about it until now. Fast forward to October, and we're getting reports from Ukrainian media that after a Ukrainian bombing near Donetsk, bodies of North Korean soldiers were found in the Russian-occupied territories. So, this month, it's been confirmed, North Korean soldiers are indeed in Ukraine. But the question remains, just how many troops did North Korea send? According to the Kiev Independent, a Western diplomat revealed that North Korea has sent as many as 10,000 soldiers to support Russia's war efforts. However, no one's sure yet what these troops are doing or what their specific role is in the conflict. Is North Korea sending specialized combat units? Are they there for logistics or support? The details are still murky. From the way major international media outlets are reporting it, this story is just starting to come to light. We still don't have enough intelligence to know the full scope of North Korea's involvement, and global media is just beginning to dig into this. Over time, we're likely to see more concrete information surface about the extent of North Korea's role in the war and the impact of its troops on the ground. Now, I've got to share my take on this situation. If these reports are true, Kim Jong-un is really playing with fire here. He's struggling to deal with South Korea, his relationship with China has cooled, and now he's exporting mercenaries to fight in a foreign war. If he's actually sending thousands of soldiers across borders to prop up Russia, he might be biting off way more than he can chew. This could end up creating some serious problems for him, both at home and internationally. Kim might think he's making a power move, but this could backfire in a big way. Finally, let's talk about China's military exercises. A few days ago, on October 14th, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, launched a massive military exercise near the Taiwan Strait, called Joint Sword 2024B. The exercise was meant to simulate surrounding Taiwan, signaling a real threat of potential military action. It quickly caught the attention of the global media, especially since it seemed like a direct response to Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's National Day speech on October 10th. Right after the drills kicked off, U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller expressed serious concerns, calling out China's military provocations. He said that responding to Taiwan's routine annual speech with military exercises made no sense and could escalate tensions. While the U.S. usually responds to these types of drills, this time, the tone was more serious and firm than usual. China's take on the exercise was that it could turn into a real battle at any moment. A Chinese military researcher, Fu Jingnan, even went on state TV to describe Taiwan as a wild boar, metaphorically breaking down the island into its vulnerable parts. He described Taipei as the heart, southern Taiwan as the brain, eastern Taiwan as the stomach, and the west as the island's defensive spikes. His point was that China could swallow Taiwan at any moment. However, after about 13 hours, the exercise abruptly ended. It left a lot of people confused and feeling like it was a bit anticlimactic. Some speculated that China wasn't looking to seriously escalate things and might be trying to avoid further complicating the political situation, especially with the US presidential election coming up. A scholar from Singapore, Retaliation, pointed out that China's gray zone tactics, these low-intensity moves designed to keep Taiwan on edge, are likely part of a larger strategy. He suggested that China may have dialed back its actions to avoid provoking a stronger response from the US and its allies. Veteran Japanese journalist Akio Yaita had his own take on the exercise, breaking it down into 3 points. First, he believes the timing of the drill was a direct response to Lai Ching-te's recent comments. Lai had previously made statements questioning why China isn't going after Russia for territorial disputes if land is the real issue, and suggested that the Republic of China, Taiwan, was the real motherland. These remarks seemed to put China on the defensive, especially as Lai pushed the idea of two Chinas during his National Day speech. According to Yaita, China found itself in an awkward position because it couldn't respond to Lai's arguments without giving more fuel to Taiwanese nationalism. Second, Yaita thinks the 13-hour drill was more for domestic consumption than anything else. He argued that China needed to show it wasn't just sitting back while Taiwan's leadership kept pushing its boundaries. But at the same time, China didn't want to risk escalating tensions to the point where it provoked a real conflict with the US and the West, so they wrapped things up quickly. Lastly, Yaita pointed out that China's frequent military drills have become routine and no longer carry the same weight they used to. Taiwan's stock market, for instance, actually went up on the day of the exercise, showing that people in Taiwan aren't as rattled by these actions anymore. He also joked that the name Joint Sword 2024B didn't sound nearly as intimidating as past exercises like Dragon Out of the Sea or Tiger Descending the Mountain. While I agree with most of Yaita's points, I do have one concern. China's leadership is opportunistic, and I wonder if all these seemingly routine drills are designed to lull people into a false sense of security. Could they one day use one of these normal exercises to launch a surprise attack on Taiwan? Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but it's something worth considering. Hopefully, Taiwan's government and military remain vigilant and prepared. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.